国际线出发，我们继续要来关心的，川普当选之后呢，有很多政策上面，尤其台湾非常关注的半导体产业。目前呢，在川普的政策上，大家都在看到说，是不是先进制程必须要被迫提前来到美国？其实过去因为川普在发言的时候曾经提及台湾抢走了美国半导体的生意，虽然这样的发言对于很多台湾的科技厂商来说，觉得是相当不公平的，因为毕竟本来台湾本土的发展就没有呢在跟美国抢人，但事实上呢，在发展的历程上面，因为美国过去从制造业撤出之后，现在想要再回归，的确也需要花很多的时间，包含政策来整顿。但是他说，晶片跟科学法案的花费太大，到底是不是政治语言呢？因为目前为止，你也可以观察，美国终究还是要往半导体的方向走，因为这是未来国力发展的重要目标。也因此，现在呢，台积电自己目前也回应说，在美国的投资计划是不改变的。但是在路透社的报道认为，台积电会获得美国晶片法的最终补助，会在川普上任、拜登下台之前拨款，只是目前呢能不能够落实还是有问号。经济部长郭志辉呢，针对了大家关注的台积电议题，也认为说，现行的法律的确不允许先进制程提前到美国，但是会不会提前到美国生产，还是要看台积电决定。所以这个部分也要回到目前川普不管是整个科技产业的发展，还有半导体政策，我们也要问一下陈主任。其实大家很关注的是，川普对于半导体的态度。So what's Trump's attitude towards semiconductor?
Well, as you know, during the last couple of years, the United States has tried to boost semiconductor production in the United States. They've tried to create incentives through the CHIPS and Science Act. Obviously, TSMC responded to that by seeking to bring some manufacturing to the U.S. I think Trump sees the semiconductor industry with strategic value, but also with economic value. And I think the big question will be, will Trump, for example, pursue a CHIPS Science Act 2.0? Will he try to ensure that semiconductor production increasingly and manufacturing increasingly is brought to the United States? To the degree that companies like TSMC are willing to participate in a program, for example, that would include more manufacturing, more production in the United States, I think TSMC could benefit. Now, the question is, of course, if those companies are unwilling to shift production and manufacturing from, say, Taiwan to the United States, that could result in some conflict with Trump. He has always said that Taiwan needs to pay more. It needs to pay more for its own defense. It needs to pay more when it comes to economics and trade. So we'll have to see the degree to which he would actually ask Taiwan to pay more if, for example, TSMC were unwilling to move manufacturing, unwilling to do more business with the United States. I think we have to wait and see. But there's no question that for Trump, the semiconductor industry is of critical importance to the future development of the American economy.
好，接下来关注的议题呢，其实大家也在关注未来的内阁会如何的来变动。接下来，其实川普重返白宫的同时呢，内阁名单也有一些人已经提前出来备受青睐了，比如说前国务卿庞培欧 Mike Pompeo， 这是对中强硬的人，所以大家也认为说他可能未来是国防部长的角色。另外的是前驻德大使 Richard。这一次呢，他说要让美国再次伟大的领导者也有国务卿可能呢被提名的机会，还有佛州的参议员 Marco Rubio。那当时呢，其实他是力推了这个香港人权的民主法案，对中的是强硬，所以这几个都有国务卿被点名的角色。另外一位大家比较熟知的是 Robert O'Brien。过去他在北约跟乌克兰上不断的支持，在 X 上面也不断的发声，甚至也转发了赖清德总统对于川普的祝贺。立场友台的这位有没有机会也成为国务卿的人选呢？这是目前大家可能在政治上角力当中比较关注的走向。不过呢，未来在国防部长可能也有一些不一样的角色，包含了庞培欧以及呢另外的佛州众议员 Mike Waltz。对中强硬的态度是不是可以持续川普的政策，都是大家关注的焦点。还有一位可能也有财政部以及商务部提名的田纳西州参议员 Bill Hagerty。 这是大家都是关注的人选。不过有一张图我必须要来跟大家分享哈，因为过去在这一次的选举当中呢 ，Elon Musk 也扮演了一个很重要的角色。在开票过程当中呢，他甚至抱着一张这个水槽的图片。批了说后面是进了白宫椭圆形的办公室，所以呢，大家也觉得说未来呢，川普的这个内阁是大家很好奇的一部分。So Lenny, what's the potential candidates or you can think of these people can be the Trump's administration? Especially people are curious about Elon Musk's role. Or why will he like a consultancy or something? Yes.
Well, I think for Secretary of State, you've identified a number of very strong candidates, many of whom I know personally and who I've worked with before. And I think there's a number of very strong candidates. Also, potentially a few of those like Mike Waltz and Mike Pompeo could potentially be Secretary of Defense instead of Secretary of State. But you have on that list a number of people who are proven friends of Taiwan. Marco Rubio is a great example of somebody who has been very strongly in favor of Taiwan and Taiwan increasing its space in the international community, increasing its participation in the international community. You mentioned Robert O'Brien, who's a good friend of mine. Actually, Robert O'Brien and I together took a trip to Taiwan last year to visit with former President Tsai. And that's when Robert O'Brien was awarded with the special award from the former president of Taiwan. Robert is somebody who would be a tremendous Secretary of State and someone who I think would be very supportive of Taiwan as well. So the candidates for Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense who you've identified, I think are many of the candidates who could potentially take on the role. And I think that for a number of those people on that list, like Marco Rubio, like Robert O'Brien, Mike Pompeo, Mike Waltz, Bill Hagerty, these are all people who I think will be very much in favor of continuing to support Taiwan, continuing to strengthen the relationship between the U.S. and Taiwan. And I think the selection of any of these individuals would be very good news for the Taiwanese people.
Okay, so one more question. Okay, so people are wondering the role of Elon Musk.
Yes.
So would you like to have your personal recommendation or something? Yeah.
You know, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He is somebody who clearly is very influential with the president-elect, with Donald Trump. What Elon Musk has said he wants to focus on is making the U.S. government more efficient. So I see him being someone who can help, whether he comes into government officially or as a consultant or advisor outside of government. He has a very important role to play because he's a successful businessman. He started some incredible companies like Tesla and SpaceX. To bring that experience to make government in the U.S. work better, make it work more efficiently, this is the role that I think and I hope he will play. I don't think necessarily he'll be officially in government, but obviously he's someone who will be very influential with President Trump and somebody who will have a lot of influence over how President Trump thinks about issues around government efficiency as well as around economic policy.
Thank you very much, Lei. 今天呢，我们看到了陈主任呢分析了非常多关于川普呢未来可能包含了内阁以及呢政经的情绪以及国际外交。那更多讯息也欢迎大家持续锁定。我们稍后回来。
想要抢先掌握最及时的国际新闻资讯吗？赶快订阅、按赞、开启小铃铛，锁定52华视国际特区 YouTube 频道。